The promise under the old oak tree. On the outskirts of a quiet little town stood an ancient oak tree, its branches stretching wide as though it held the secrets of generations. Beneath that tree, two young souls first met: Evelyn, a shy girl with a love for sketching, and Daniel, a dreamer who always carried a guitar on his back. It was a late summer afternoon when Evelyn sat under the oak, sketching the horizon. Daniel, passing by, stopped to rest and strummed a gentle melody. Their eyes met, and a connection sparked, one so natural it felt as though they had known each other in another lifetime. From that day on, the oak tree became their sanctuary. Evelyn would bring her sketchbook, Daniel his guitar, and together they filled the air with art and laughter. She drew the world as she saw it, he sang the world as he felt it. Slowly, their friendship blossomed into love, though neither dared to say it aloud at first. One autumn evening, as golden leaves swirled around them, Daniel finally spoke. "Evelyn," he said softly, "every song I've written since meeting you has been about you. I don't want just to be your friend anymore. I want to be the one who holds your hand through every season." Her heart raced. She had always feared love, afraid it might fade, afraid it might hurt. But as she looked into Daniel's eyes, full of sincerity, her fears dissolved. "Then let's make a promise," she whispered. "No matter where life takes us, we'll always come back here, to this tree. It will remind us of who we are together." Years passed. Life carried them forward: college, careers, challenges, distance. There were times when they fought, when silence filled the space between them, but the oak tree always brought them back. On difficult days, they would sit beneath its branches, remember their promise, and find each other again. One winter evening, after a long time apart due to work, Daniel stood beneath the oak with snow falling gently around him. In his hand was a small velvet box. Evelyn arrived, bundled in a coat, her cheeks flushed from the cold. Daniel knelt, his voice trembling. "Evelyn, this tree witnessed our first hello, our laughter, our tears. Today, I wanted to witness the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down her face as she nodded. "Yes, Daniel. 1,000 times yes." The oak tree stood silently, yet it seemed to smile with them, as though it had known all along. And so, beneath its branches, a love story that began with a sketch and a song became a lifelong promise, one that no season, no storm, could ever erase. The bridge at midnight. The small town of Willowbrook was known for two things: its quiet charm and the old stone bridge that crossed the river. The bridge had been there for centuries, and legend said that those who confessed their love on it at midnight would be bound together forever. Most people laughed at the story, but for Elena, it was something she had secretly dreamed about since childhood. Elena worked in the town's little library, a place that smelled of old paper and rain. Her life was quiet, filled with books and the occasional friendly conversation. But everything changed when Daniel arrived. He was new to Willowbrook, a photographer traveling from city to city, capturing small towns for a project he called Echoes of Time. The first time Elena saw him, He was standing near the poetry section, holding a worn copy of Keats. He looked so absorbed that she almost didn't want to disturb him. But when he asked, in a soft voice, "Do you believe places can hold memories?" Elena found herself answering, "Yes. Some places remember love." From that moment, their conversations became daily rituals. He would show her the photos he took of the river at sunrise, of the bridge glowing in golden light, and she would tell him stories about the town's forgotten legends. Slowly, without realizing it, Elena's quiet world began to glow brighter. But Daniel was never meant to stay. His project was almost finished, and soon he would leave for another town. The thought pressed heavily on Elena's heart, though she never found the courage to tell him how she felt. One rainy evening, as the library closed, Daniel walked Elena home. They paused on the old bridge, raindrops shimmering like silver threads around them. Daniel looked out over the water and said, "You know, this place feels different. Like it's been waiting for something." Elena's heart raced. The legend whispered in her mind. Midnight was only an hour away. Summoning all the courage she had, she asked, "Daniel, do you believe in promises that last forever?" He turned to her, puzzled but smiling. "I want to." "Why?" She hesitated, then told him the story of the bridge. How lovers who confessed their feelings at midnight would never part. Her voice trembled, afraid he would laugh. But instead, he looked at her with eyes that carried both surprise and warmth. "Elena," he said softly, "then maybe we should wait." They stood there as the town lights flickered in the distance, as the rain eased into a gentle mist, and as the clock tower finally struck midnight. Daniel reached for her hand. "I don't want to just capture moments anymore," he whispered. "I want to stay and live them, with you." Elena felt tears blur her vision as she leaned into him. The old stone bridge seemed to hold its breath as they kissed, sealing their promise under the silver glow of the moon. And though time would continue to move, and the river would keep flowing, the bridge remembered that night, when two souls chose love, and the legend became real once again. Whispers of the Autumn Wind. The small town of Armadale was painted in hues of gold and crimson as autumn settled in. The streets smelled faintly of roasted chestnuts and fallen leaves, and the cool breeze carried with it a quiet sense of nostalgia. Emma Collins, a literature teacher at the local high school, often found herself walking along the maple-lined streets after classes, letting the fading sun soothe her. Life had been steady, predictable even, but sometimes she longed for something more, something that could stir her heart the way poetry did. It was on one of those golden evenings that she stepped into Willow's Cafe, a place she rarely visited. The doorbell chimed softly as she entered, brushing off the chill. Inside, the cozy warmth of the room embraced her, and her eyes fell on a man seated by the window, sketching in a worn notebook. He looked up briefly, and their eyes met. His gaze was calm, deep, yet gentle. Emma looked away quickly, embarrassed, but the stranger offered a small smile. Later, as she ordered her tea, she couldn't help but glance toward him again. He was still sketching, his hand moving gracefully, as if each line carried a story. When Emma's order was ready, she accidentally brushed past his table. "Sorry," she murmured, her cheeks warming. "No need to be," he said, his voice low and warm. "You have the kind of presence that inspires a drawing." Emma blinked, caught off guard. I'm no model." He chuckled softly. "Neither are most of the people I sketch. I'm Daniel, by the way." That evening turned into the first of many. Emma found herself returning to Willow's cafe more often, always finding Daniel in his usual corner. He was an artist who had once lived in the bustling city but had returned to Arborvale, his hometown, in search of peace after years of chasing recognition. They began talking, first about small things, books, weather, the charm of autumn. But slowly, conversations deepened into dreams, regrets, and the quiet fears they rarely shared with anyone else. Daniel showed Emma his sketches, landscapes, strangers, fleeting moments of beauty. To her surprise, she found herself appearing in more of them, always captured with a softness she didn't know she possessed. One evening, as the first snow threatened the horizon, Emma stayed with Daniel until the cafe closed. They walked home together, their breaths forming misty clouds in the night. At her doorstep, silence lingered between them, thick with unspoken words. "You've changed my autumn," Daniel finally whispered. Emma's heart trembled. She had always believed her life was destined to be quiet, steady, untouched by passion. Yet here was someone who saw her not as just a teacher or a face in the crowd, but as a story worth capturing. "Maybe," she said softly, "autumn was meant to bring us together." Daniel stepped closer, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. His touch was gentle, hesitant, but full of meaning. "Would it be foolish if I told you I don't want this to end with the season?" Emma smiled, her eyes glistening in the porch light. "Then let's not let it end." And with that, their lips met, carrying the warmth of all the unspoken feelings they had nurtured. Winter arrived, then spring, but Emma and Daniel's love grew steadily, like the quiet town around them. Their story wasn't one of grand gestures or dramatic twists, but of soft moments. Shared glances, late-night walks, and the comfort of knowing that sometimes, love comes not with thunder, but with the gentle whispers of an autumn wind.